Hello all, Havoc here. Let's get ready to play some Space Engineers. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to look around and see what I got going for the new ship, the Mark II. I see I've got quite a bit in place. This is the new larger door. It's the same height, it's just wider because we only have one door block in the middle on the Kestrel. And then in here on the deck, this will be the height of the deck. In here, let's see if I can get this to work here. There we go. Dunk, 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 dunk. So that'll be the height of the new deck. It doesn't seem like it's very big, but this is 8 blocks internal spacing, and it's only 5 blocks internal spacing on the current Kestrel. So from the deck in there to the ceiling where the mag pads are, it's only 5 blocks. So this is actually 3 blocks taller at this point. And then on top of that, we're going to have the extra 4 to 6 blocks in width with no machines. So not only is it white, that's a really weird halo effect on that far wall. So not only are we going to be 4 to 6 blocks wider on the width, but we're also not going to have the machines on the sides right here. I actually plan on putting the machines right over here, along this wall right here on both sides. So I'm going to put 4 refineries. No, I think I'm going to stick with 2. I just don't want to overkill that much. So we're going to do 2 refineries, 1 on each side, just like we did on this Kestrel, with all the upgrades. And then we'll do 2 assemblers, 1 on each side, and they'll get all the upgrades as well for speed. So, and then, so one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about, this is going to be a short episode today because I've been literally just been hammering away with this, and I want to keep going with it. And I still got to work on the turret a little bit too. But the connection for the nacelle, it doesn't work there. I need to move it, which kind of sucks. Is actually, before we get into that, bring you around, show you what I got going for the profile here. So it's starting to take some shape. I mean, it's kind of hard to see it in wireframe, but that's partly why this episode is going to be kind of short, is because I want to start getting to the point where I can start actually welding this up. So there's the profile. So remember we was talking about how this center line, we want to carry it all the way through to those nacelles. But the problem is we come over here and look at the front of the Kestrel. Let's kill that real quick. So this V is on the center of the large portion of the ship. So the top of that is equal to the top of the Kestrel. And the bottom of that, it sticks a little bit past. But that kind of works for that over there. And I just don't see that working over here. It's so much taller. So I'm going to move these around a little bit and try to get it to where it looks better. I put in a couple of them earlier, and I tried making it shorter. You see how this is only 2 blocks tall now, not 3. I tried doing it at 2, and it just didn't work. And then, so yeah, I've tried a few different things, and the long and the short of it is the distance between the center and the top is too great. So this thing's going to need to move up probably about 2 blocks because we increase the overall height of the section by 4. So I think moving it up 2 blocks, it'll be fine. And then we can still have that offset like we see on the current Kestrel, where the wings stick out past the bottom of the ship and such. But this right now is just way too drastic. The connection for the nacelles would have to come out to about like 5 or 6 blocks for it to clear the angle and come up to the same height as the top, and which means we'd have this massive gap down the center, and I'm not liking that too much. So with that also, we're going to have only one connection, and the reason being is I think I can't remember. One of the viewers had said something along the lines of more than one point of connection, because if you take a hit, you're going to lose the nacelle. Well, in theory, you take a hit, the damage is taken here. So that's where the damage gets taken. So if you take a hit there, it shouldn't, in theory, break the connector. So I'm okay with 1 point of connection, and I mean, if worst case scenario, if things get really bad, I mean, we can literally just do something like this. Maybe. There we go. We just throw out a couple blocks, and we'll throw some angles around it to make it, give it some shape. But for now, we're just going to go with the single point of connection and carry that forward into the rest of the design. So in the sub part of the ship, in the lower section, we're going to have 2 spaces where we only had 1 in the Kestrel. So we're going to be able to run piping up here, and then we'll have our floor deck. So if we want to put containers down below, we drop a pipe down to the containers. Whereas before, if we wanted a container, it was all on the level that we were standing on now. So we're getting a little bit extra room to get around on the bottom deck of the ship. Probably going to end up putting all the storage and anything we put down here, we're going to place it up against the floor. So if we do have collisions, there were quite a few times where we had collisions on the bottom of the ship and it would break a container. Then all the contents in that container would tear through the floor, making the catastrophe like 10 times worse. So to help facilitate that and stop it from happening again, we'll leave this for walking around and move everything up to the ceiling in this area. So the flight deck's up there. So if you notice, when we're standing here, the flight deck is actually like 2 or 3 blocks ahead of us, up above us. So that's right where the cursor is pointing is the glass for the cockpit. So we're going to go ahead and build out till about here. Yeah, about here, about where this wall is. That will be at that height the entire way up until here. And then we're going to ramp up stairs into this section. And this is all glass. That is glass. Yeah, that's glass. This is all glass all the way around. So it's going to have just as cool of a view as it did last time. This will be the cockpit right here. The actual control panel will be right here. So we'll have a pretty decent view from both sides. And then we'll have the cameras, of course. But it's going to be a lot shorter run between the back of the ship and the front of the ship this time. Pretty stoked about that. But also, one of the things I do like about this design of the ship that we got going is that, actually, this is right where we wanted to stop, right here, is that we're going to be able to put a door on the seam of the ship, and it will seem appropriate. Because on the other Kestrel, there was the angled facets that did not allow for us to put a door there. So like right here, we could literally put a door right here. No, that's not the right spot for it. But we're going to find a spot, and we're going to put a door on the sides. The original Kestrel had doors right about there. Either there or there. I can't remember which. But on her port and starboard side, there were doors. But we are not going to have those going forward. So we're going to use these guys. Of course, they're ladders, I think. Is that going to work? I don't think that's going to come down in time. Take a look. And maybe. Oh yeah, it will. That'll work. We'll do it just to there. And then, so the goal would be to have a few of these. So go back to number 6. There we go. All right. We're going to get this beast underway. This is taking shape a lot quicker than I anticipated, actually. I thought this was going to take a little bit longer. Yeah, pretty much since I got off work today, this is what I've been doing. Not much to record when you're just filling in just random spots to just blank hole in the flight deck. So this will be cool. So we'll be able to come across the back flight deck up here, and then that's where the control panel will be. We just climb in and go. So along in this area here, where we have this void right here, this will be our area for all our miscellaneous stuff. We'll have med bays, reactors, all the things we need to get taken care of. We're going to throw in this area here. And we have plenty of storage underneath now. Because, I mean, look at how much space we're going with here. And this is going to ramp upward, so yeah. And then we have the railguns inside here, right at this level here. So that's something we need to take into account too. So I'm going to continue to keep skinning this, and then as the skinning gets done, we start putting more facets into the side. I don't want to keep it 100% flat. So there are some places that I want to put like this kink right here. I'm going to try to incorporate it. I'm not going to make any promises, but I really do want to incorporate this. But it is also a massive problem for the hull. It takes up a lot of space internally as well as along the actual hull itself. So it's going to take some work to get lined up right. So there is that. So this has basically been the last couple hours of my day. Just placing blocks, just filling in the gaps. So what we'll do is, like this corner here, we'll come back and we'll put some treatment on this inside corner. Trying to work out how I want all these corners to jive. And so far it's working out. I mean, it's not 100%. Like, I need to convert this to an angle block. This guy right here. So, you know, stuff like this still needs to take place. You know, I started with squares and then started working in the angled pieces. And we'll have those sloped there. And I got to work out how we're going to get the transition from that glass face into the steel blocked side panels and still keep this all airtight. That's one of the biggest things, is making sure all this stays airtight. So, but as of right now, if we cut out this center structure, in this, I didn't fill this back wall in. That's one of the things I was like, I got to put that door in. It's going to give it shape. But if I didn't put that back door in, we could park the entire Kestrel inside that right now. So I think thered be like one block to spare. So it'd be like a half a block on each side to fit inside here. But yeah, it's this internal space is as big as the external perimeter of the Kestrel itself. So, and I think we're following, I mean, you can kind of, just the cockpit right there. I think we're following suit. I think we're going to do it justice. And then, so going back with solar as well, as everything's going to be extremely flat. All the flat surfaces I'm going to cover with as much solar as possible. And then O2 I'm going to still work in. I want to see where all the plumbing and everything goes. So the O2 generators and stuff like that are all going to get placed in very similar fashions. They might go into the nacelles, but the problem I have with that is that we were talking about not having plumbing going out to the nacelles. So like I said, as we get it more and more skinned, we're going to take it from there. So, cool. Oh, yeah. I was like, wait a minute. I haven't checked my energy in a while. So we're going to wrap up the episode here today. Like I said, it's going to be kind of short because I'm just doing a bunch of welding and placing. Well, right now I'm just placing blocks, but the only thing after that is just going to be welding. But I definitely wanted to show you guys where we're at. And then yesterday's episode, I have no idea what happened. My audio got out of sync. Was not that way in our raw footage. And so I checked it in pre-production. My raw footage was all fine. And then did all my editing and everything. And went through and did all the render. And as the render finished, it seemed fine. I played the first little bit of it, which I normally do. And just to make sure it doesn't come out, because sometimes digital content does that. And it sounded great. So I uploaded it. And I started getting some messages from you guys. And I was like, what do you mean? It's out of sync. And so I went and pulled up my my post-production render. And sure enough, halfway into the video, the audio was off by sometimes up to 5-10 minutes in sections. I mean, it was insane. So, I'm done with this here. Take this off. So, yeah, so that's why if you'll notice when you look at today's episode, or yesterday's episode, I should say, there's going to be a B on the end of the number because that one is now, version A is no longer posted. So all your guys' views and stuff are still there in your comments, but it's no longer live on my feed. But version B, I was able to figure it out and get it all cleaned up and everything and rerun it. So you guys won't have any issues with audio content for that one. And hopefully for this one as well. I'm going to have to be paying a little bit more close attention to the post-production renders of my videos because that was complete foobar on my part. All right. So this is Havoc. Have fun and keep gaming.